Hey everybody, this is Dr. Hines. I am capturing a video here of what I call Circle the Wagons. Just kind of everybody coming together and circling up, and let's talk about everything you need to know to be successful in graduate school. So here goes. So the first thing to keep in mind is that you are a student of the graduate school. Oftentimes people think that they are a student of the College of Education, which you are, but technically because you're a graduate student, you are a student of the graduate school. So you applied to the graduate school, were accepted into the graduate school, and so that's your home school within the University of Georgia. So that's just always something I like to explain to people because you don't deal a lot with it from course to course, but getting matriculated into UGA, and then when graduation is upon you and you're applying for graduation and filling out forms and sending things in, and all of that happens through the graduate school. So it's just important to know that you are a student of the graduate school. If you were to ever need to access the graduate school, its physical location is now in Terrell Hall on North Campus. And so also there is a graduate student services in room 110 that can give you assistance if you ever need to come to campus. This is a main phone number, and because you're a student of the graduate school, your dean is the dean of the graduate school. So here are in the College of Education, so if you think of the large umbrella as the graduate school, and then you come down a little, and in the College of Education, this is the Dean Spangler, and her cabinet. So we have Dr. Denise Spangler, who is the College of Ed Dean. We have Dr. Ellen Evans, who's our Associate Dean for Research. So she does all kinds of things with research in the college. Then we have Dr. Delgado Romero, who is the Associate Dean for Faculty and Staff Services. So not someone you necessarily would deal with very much, but a person who we deal with as a faculty. Then Dr. Stacy Newhart Pritchett, who's the Associate Dean for Academic Programs. So Dr. Pritchett is over all of the certification, all of the different programs, working with the Professional Standards Commission, accreditation, all of those kinds of things. And then we have Dr. Singh, who is our Associate Dean for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And she has a wonderful staff and office that do all kinds of activities and events and initiatives through the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. One of my favorite things that they do is a diversity conference that happens. It's usually in the early spring, maybe in February. And so as a student, you can register and attend that. I know a lot of you are far away and some of you are closer by, but it's a really great conference. They bring in a great keynote speaker, and there's all kinds of sessions around different kinds of diversity. So I really enjoyed that. So those are our deans. So then kind of going down, graduate school, College of Ed, we're now down into the Department of Educational Psychology, which is the department you're a student in. And Dr. Ardoin is our department head. He is a professor in school psychology, but is serving as our department head right now. And then Dr. Lease, who doesn't have a picture up, but she is our graduate coordinator. So sometimes, you may have a situation that you need to go to Dr. Lease or Dr. Ardoin about. Usually it's a problematic situation. Usually the best course of action is to work with your advisor first, but if you can't remedy the situation that's going on, you can talk with Dr. Ardoin or Dr. Lease. That's what they're here for. Or any kind of issues that come up about graduate school or graduate education, Dr. Lease is able to help you with that. And then this is Jason Tiller. He is one of our student affairs professional, and he also helps to coordinate all things graduate school in educational psychology. He also assists Dr. Grantham and myself in helping to advise students. So Dr. Grantham and I can really help with each of you as our advisees, helping to know you professionally, what your goals are, helping you to select courses, and kind of getting you on the right trajectory for moving along with your cohort or your your class. But Jason is a great person to always have contact with. He knows all the like dates and deadlines and how do I do this and how do I that and where do I call, and he's just a fantastic asset to our department. And so oftentimes you all will ask me a question, and if I don't know, I just route you to Jason because he is such a resource and perk to our EPSY department. Also, Danielle Mitchell is an administrative associate in our department, and she really kind of runs the office and all of the things that go along with that. So if you ever meet her or you ever receive an email from her or have to access her, she's a super nice person and can be helpful to you in that way. So here are your Gifted and Creative Education Program faculty members. So you see me, there I am in the middle. And then Dr. Grantham, which most of you have had in your courses by now. And then I want to introduce to you Dr. Bahar, who is one of our newest faculty members. So Dr. Bahar comes to us from the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Creek. Dr. Bahar was a student of Dr. June Maker, who's one of kind of our founding mothers of gifted education, who has some really great work that I'm sure you've seen that name as you've been reading along, Dr. June Maker. But Kadir studied with her at the University of Arizona, and he is now here at UGA, and his research interests are primarily in the math area, but by way of problem solving and creativity. So hopefully you will have him, actually I think you will have him this summer. He will be teaching our creativity course that those of you who are in the new cohort will be taking. So moving on, the Torrance Center for Creativity and Talent Development. So last week we heard from Dr. Sumners, who is our interim director in the Torrance Center, and Dr. Desiree Sharp, who also is the coordinator in the office. And together with a couple of graduate students, they work to bring different research initiatives around creativity and different events. So we do all of the Duke Tip programs through the Torrance Center, as well as our annual Torrance lecture, the Torrance Test for Creative Thinking training, and all kinds of things that have to do with creativity and the work of EPAL Torrance. So those are some faces for you to know if you ever need to access. One of the things that kind of can get confusing that I like to share with people is that in educational psychology, which is our department, we actually have 4 distinct programs. So you all are students in the Gifted and Creative Education program, and so I'm the coordinator for that program. But we also have 3 other programs. So we have what's called the Applied Cognition and Development, and so these are courses that are what would be foundational to educational psychology. So our professors and coursework in ACD are things like courses around cognition, around motivation, around human development. Each of our faculty members have experience, or research and scholarly work around some of these different areas. Each of you will take what we call an Educational Foundations course. All students in EPSY have to take one of these courses. And so when that comes up in your advisement, just know that this is the program for which you'll be taking that course from. We also have our quantitative methods, which are the quantitative faculty who do all kinds of statistics and quantitative methods, and they serve actually our whole college. So all graduate students from all departments have to take certain coursework depending on their program of study, and so they will take coursework with our quantitative methods faculty. Then we also have our school psychology faculty. So many of you are in schools and districts, and you have school psychologists who come to do testing and measurement with your students. So our school psychology program prepares folks such as those to work with students in schools or in private practice, doing testing and measurement with a variety of things around the psychology in schools. Okay, so this is something else I like to share in our Circle of the Wagons, just to kind of look at what the timelines are for the MED and EDS program. And so, because you began, most of you who are in this course take this seminar in the fall after you have just begun in this summer term. So you can see, let's see if I can get a little tool here. So right here in summer term, you all began with the characteristics course and the assessment course. And then moving over to the fall, you are now in the methods and materials class with me and the program and curriculum course with Dr. Ecke, and you're taking the 1-hour seminar. This spring term, you will be registering for the social and emotional development of the gifted course, and I'll be teaching that course. It's a great course. It's one of my favorite ones to teach, as well as the action research course that you will take in the quantitative methods department. But that's all students in EPSY have to have a research requirement. Action research is a great course for you all as practitioners to really look at how do I use that lens of research in my classroom or my school or my district ongoing. Then this summer, let's see if I've lost my cursor somehow, it moved away from me. The Creative Strategies course, which is another great course. Dr. Bahar will be teaching you all that this summer, where you learn about all different kinds of creativity strategies to use in your classroom and in your school. And then Dr. Grantham, another great course, he will be teaching the multicultural gifted student course. So you'll look at all kinds of issues of diversity and how we look at the different types of students that are in our classrooms. Then that kind of leads into, that summer, this coming summer will lead into your second year, for which next fall and next spring, if you're a master's student, and just can't find my little cursor. He seems to be hiding from me. And I was going to show you with an arrow. Oh, there he is. You can see there, as a master's student, you will take 2 practica. You can see in the fall term and the spring term. Those of you who are EDS students, however, will only take 1 practicum, and you will either take that in the fall or spring term. We offer the both terms, so however Dr. Grantham advises you to take that. And typically that is dependent on when the applied project course will be taken. So those of you who are EDS students, you will take a applied project course, which will be the summative part of your program. So you do that almost at the very end of your program. And I'll talk about what an applied project is in just a little bit. Master students, you all complete a comprehensive examination. So the summative assignment for your course is a little bit different. But circling back to fall term in that second year, you can see that you have room to take your EPSY Foundations course. I was just talking about that you'll take through the ACD program. There's also room to take that in the spring term, and you can kind of see there, master's students, you also have to have an elective. So usually you can do one of those 2 things in the fall or the spring, kind of an either or. And those are the courses and kind of the timeline for how things are offered with our online program. Okay, so I'm trying to use my my tools here, and my cursor is not. I guess I'm just going to leave the arrows where they are because I don't want to waste your time. Okay, talked a little bit about advisement. and your advisor. Your advisor is your person. That's the person who is there to help you plan your program, help you register for your courses, and to support your professional goals. And I'm not sure in what ways Dr. Grantham brings you in as students. I typically parcel out some time to talk with my new advisees about why are they seeking this degree, what are their professional goals, how can I help them meet those, just so I get to know you a little bit and help support you. I also have the advantage of being the person who oversees the practicum, and so really that's an opportunity for me to get to know all of you even better and help move you towards your goals professionally based upon what we create for your practica. Also, make sure you seek advice. Be careful from who you seek it. So that kind of is a piece of advice. Your classmates can be very helpful and essential, but also if it feels like something that a faculty member can better answer, make sure you seek that advice from a faculty member. So your advisor can help you with things also like your annual evaluation. So every January you'll be asked to kind of put together some evidence about your progress as a graduate student. The way that we do it now is really through kind of a survey format where you input your grades and activities you've been involved with, professional development. I'll talk a little bit more about annual evaluation in a minute, but that's something that you can work with your advisor and have them help you do if you have questions. But remember, you are ultimately responsible for yourself. So making sure that we do a pretty good job of sending on our listserv any important announcements, any important reminders, graduation application due dates and program of study due dates, and turn in your annual evaluation, and please send us a picture for our poster. So those are really important things that you have to be responsible for as a graduate student, and so make sure that you are checking those boxes and getting those things done. Some other tips: work hard and try to be organized. I think that's one of the advantages of being an online student, is that you do have the flexibility to do things when you make the time to do it. But that's the key. You have to make the time to do it. So you're not coming to campus and sitting in a traditional face-to-face course, but you do have to put that kind of time into your work. So this is not just something to quickly breeze through. It's kind of, the more you put in, the more you get out. Also use any kind of resources to help you keep track of things. All of the courses in ELC populate a calendar so that when things are due, you have that when you're in your ELC. But each of you probably has a certain way that you manage your to-do list or the files. Keep those key assessments from your endorsement coursework, because you're going to need those for your folio tech portfolio. So I would never get rid of anything, all the assignments that you do and the work that you do, save it in a place that can be accessed. You never know when you need that, as well as when you're doing research for different projects. And I shared with you a couple classes back the program Mendeley and how you can archive those articles and research papers to use later. Those will be very important to you, especially when you get to the end of your program for your comprehensive examination or your applied project. So yeah, that last thing that I was saying earlier, being an online student is flexible, but things can sneak up on you. Make sure you give yourself a system that works for you and stick with it. Find a way to relax. It's stressful trying to do everything you're trying to do. Teach kids all day, do graduate school at night, have a family, do things that are important for you to take care of yourself. That's one way. It took me a long time to learn that. I don't think I was really understood what that meant until I was in my 40s, and I kind of had to learn that finding time to relax, whether that's traveling or getting your bike out to ride it, or exercising, or being with friends, or reading a good book for pleasure, whatever it is, find a way to relax and be restorative. Be nice to everyone, get involved, network. You may meet people in your online courses that teach things similar to you, whether it's the grade level or the content area. You will make some good friendships through these courses and ways that you can support each other both professionally and personally. So make sure to do that networking and connecting with your classmates, as well as the faculty. And we love to see you get involved, even though many of you are at a distance. Some of you are close enough to get involved, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. In fact, now. So it is hard when you're a fully online student. You know, some of you might be, I think the furthest student I ever had was in Brazil. And so Sylvia was not able to come and do things on campus because she was so far away. But the cool thing is about a year after she graduated, her boys were coming to America for a summer program, and she came by and visited us and met us all. So that was really cool. And that's not an expectation, but I just use that as an example that if you can find ways to get involved either virtually or in person with our program, we're a little family in GCE, and we would love to have you be a part of that as best you can. One of the ways that you can do that is find support or a financial way to come and do a Torrance test training. Even if you don't or won't be scoring Torrance tests in your district or your state, it's a wonderful training to really better understand creativity assessment and how we can possibly measure it. We also have an annual Torrance lecture. Those of you who maybe live in Atlanta or on the outskirts of Athens or within a distance, it's actually this Thursday night. This Thursday at 5 is when we will have the Torrance lecture. We have a former UGA student, Dr. Michael Mumford, who will be speaking, and he will give that lecture, and we'll have a reception, and it's a nice time. Please come if you can. Another great thing is to attend your state conference. So many of you are in Georgia, and the Georgia Association for Gifted Children Conference is every March. I love to think that you would propose a session. Sometimes that's the way you can get here, is to propose and be accepted, and your district can fund you to come. Or I also am of the mind that you're in graduate school for 2 years. Think about the financial obligation to attend your state conference. Both of those years, or even just one of those years, as a way, just a personal kind of graduate school expenditure. It's a really important as a gifted educator to stay connected to other gifted educators, and I can't tell you how much you would benefit from the sessions and the networking and camaraderie that you'll find at those state conferences. Or you can even attend the National Association for Gifted Children. So that is a conference that happens every November. And so this year, that conference is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In just a couple weeks, I'll be traveling out there for that conference. So that's a really great one to try to, you can propose a session for and maybe get funding as well. Another great opportunity to get involved is to attend your affiliate state bowl for future problem solving. So we learned a little bit about that last week from Dr. Sumners. I think you'll hear more about it. I know we covered it in our competitions and special programs. I imagine Dr. Bahar will feature it in your creativity course this summer, but Dr. Torrance's future problem solving competition is an international program, and so I think most every state in the United States, and of course other countries as well, have what's called an affiliate, or what they're affiliated with. Sometimes the programs are so small it's a couple states, but in Georgia we have an affiliate state organization for Georgia's future problem solving, and that competition is usually in Athens again every March. So that's a great way to come out. They always need volunteers. You can just volunteer yourself for the day, and you can be in progress learning about all the different competitions that students are involved with from around the state. It's a great opportunity. We also sometimes have social events. Usually we have a holiday gathering right like near Reading Day in December, a back to school. We usually meet up and go out. So there's some fun things like that that come across the listserv you can pay attention to as well. In our very first session in this seminar, we talked about some of the different professional organizations you can be involved with, but I can't say it enough. To belong to the Georgia Association for Gifted Children or your state organization, as well as the National Association for Gifted Children is super important. Research, so you hear a lot about that, and in some of your courses you may have a doctoral student who's in your course with you, and they have what's called a research interest, and that might confuse you or you don't understand what that means. But basically, people who come to get their doctorate, to get their Ph.D. In in an area, it can be gifted in creative education, or it could be any department or program in our college. But they have an interest about something that they want to research. So doctoral students typically come to get that advanced degree at UGA in order to begin their scholarly work around an area of interest. And people come with all different kinds of things. And that's why we have research interests, is because we're wondering, we don't yet have the answers, and we want to take that next step professionally to research and find new understandings to disseminate out to our fields. So for example, for me, I don't do a lot of research as a lecturer. I do a lot of teaching, but I do have research interests that I work on primarily around creativity and students from underserved populations. And so in what ways does using creativity or using strategies of creativity help to provide space for those students to demonstrate their gifts and their talents, how it helps in them becoming identified for certain programs and opportunities within high ability education. So that's kind of what if I'm doing research, that I'm spending my time trying to come to understand better and share with others. But having a research interest, you can even have that as an MED or EDS student. So I will often talk to you about what have you become interested in as a student, and how does that connect with what you're doing every day in your classroom. And usually somewhere in there you have an interest that you're wondering about and that you want to learn more about. So the practicum happens in your second year, and each master's student will take 2 semesters, and each EDS student will take 1 semester. And this is basically an applied experience in gifted and creative education. You clock 60 hours of contact time, and again, it's centered around an area of interest. Or something that you want to develop a practice or some research around. It's usually in one of these 4 categories: instruction, so something that's happening right in your classroom that you're working with learners. It might be administrative, so it might be outside of the classroom. It could be a special group of students that's pulled together from around your school. It could be something about developing a program. It could be some kind of evaluative piece. It could be something about identification and testing. So anything that involves stuff outside of the classroom. Outreach can be things locally, state, national. You might be involved with revising something on behalf of gifted education in your school district. You're on some kind of gifted task force or committee. Statewide, you might be involved with your state organization. You may serve on the board. You may have an initiative that you're helping to head up within your state. Research, that would be really practicing that action research that you learn about, gathering data, interpreting it, and looking at how you might use that in your instructional setting or in your school setting or in an outreach initiative. These practica are to help you move towards your professional goals. Take what you're learning in your coursework or what you've learned so far, and how you can then move that into kind of an application phase, making that theory to practice kind of idea. Your practicum culminates in a portfolio that documents your experience. And so that is done through different artifacts that you collect to show how you've met your goals and what you've been involved with. And then you have to think about how you're going to share that. So oftentimes that can be creating a proposal for presentation at a conference. It might be developing a paper that would be in a teacher-friendly journal. It might be developing a professional learning program for teachers. So the practicum can culminate in a lot of different ways. So part of being a graduate student is sharing what you've learned and sharing what you've created and how you're applying these things in your classroom. So attending conferences and presenting is a way to do that. And usually I will, and I'll tell you I'm on the precipice of changing this for practicum. So by the time those of you who are new in practicum, next year I probably am going to employ that you either propose something to a conference or create a potentially publishable paper, or you disseminate it in your school or district as a professional learning program, the practicum that you work on. So disseminating the work is important. That's how we push the field forward. A curriculum vitae is a little bit different from a resume. You'll be asked for this during your annual evaluation process. A curriculum vitae is more an academic resume versus a summary of your skills, things that you might use to get a job. So this is going to include information like where you've gone to school, all the academic background you have had, the places that you've taught, any degrees you have, if you've gotten any awards, or if you have any publications or presentations or other achievements that are around your academic work. This is particularly important for doctoral students and faculty members. This is kind of the living document that we are measured by. This is what, when I have my annual evaluation every year, I turn in my CV. And my peers and my department head are looking to see what's impact have I had, and am I continuing to move in a way that I'm impacting students and schools or the university. So I'm not going to go in too much more, but just be thinking about that as we approach annual evaluation in January, that you begin to put something like that together. Our annual evaluation happens every spring. Of course, spring begins in January, and so you're documenting what you did the year prior. So when we do an annual evaluation, you'll be able to share about what you did in 2019, and that will be things like what were your coursework, what was your coursework and what grades did you get? Did you involve yourself in anything regarding gifted education at your school district, locally or state? Have you done any research? Have you proposed any presentations at conferences? So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be looking for, and those expectations. So that usually happens in January or February, and your faculty member will provide some feedback to you about your progress. Okay, graduation. So whatever term you're going to be graduating in, it's important to keep an eye out. During that term, the very first week of that term, I usually send out a message about applying for graduation. You have to do two things when you're graduating. The first is you have to apply in Athena, and then you also have to submit your program of study. And so I'll put this PowerPoint in our ELC site, so you have that hot link right there. But there's a specific form that you all as MED or EDS students have to turn in. And that is just a list of all your courses and what grades you've gotten. And then your advisor and our graduate coordinator has to sign off on those. And that means you've done what you have to do in order to graduate. I talked earlier about the different summative assessments for GCE. MED students, you complete what's called a comprehensive examination, which is a writing task that culminates kind of all of your courses and everything you've done in your program. You're presented with the exam, and you usually have between 2 and 3 weeks to complete it. It's basically a big paper, but it's where I envision you all getting all the textbooks out that you've ever used, all the notebooks and notes and things that you've made, the articles you've read, and you are synthesizing or using all of that to reply to the prompt for this exam. So it's a way for you to demonstrate everything that you've learned. EDS students, you actually take a whole course where you complete an applied project, and this is where you work with a faculty member. You propose a research study, and you implement that action research proposal, and then you write it up. And so that will build off of your action research course. You'll complete a literature review and do all those kinds of things, kind of a beginning research project. Okay, so that's really all I have for Circle the Wagons. A couple other things I want to draw your attention to that are very important just for our course, for our seminar, is that in session 6, excuse me, which is on Tuesday, November 27th, will be our final meeting time. And on that evening, I'm going to ask that each of you share what's called a vision board, a digital vision board. And so if you think back to the beginning of the term when we looked at those advanced teacher preparation standards, I asked you to kind of take an evaluation of what things have you maybe already met, what things are you in progress for meeting, and what things are in your future that you want to work towards. And so you've had 3 or 4 classes that have put you in touch with some different aspects of our program at UGA, of conceptions of giftedness. We're going to hear from a variety of people in different positions and jobs in gifted education in a few weeks in November. So that's kind of the idea of this seminar course, is to really kind of acclimate you to the field. And so I want you to be able to leave this seminar with a plan. And that plan I would like you to capture in the form of a vision board, which is really just a image related assignment. So to take those different images that represent where you are and where you'd like to be and what you've learned. So I have that assignment posted in our $69.90 course, and you can read that. And I think I may have some examples in there. If not, I can probably grab some to put in there. But if you want to just understand what a vision board is in general, just Google vision boards and you'll get an idea of what that is. But we're using that concept of what a vision board is for our course. So something that's going to capture where you are and where you want to go. Any questions on that, feel free to email me. And then I do have a critical reflection that I wanted you all to participate in for our class that we had last Monday. And so I wanted to see if you're able to come to the lecture on Thursday. Great. If not, you can access the archives here. I have a hot link there where all the old lectures are that you can go in and find one that interests you and view it. And then there's a critical reflection about that lecture that you look at. And so that's going to involve you looking at some things in relationship to Dr. Torrance and Dr. Fraser, those gifted giants that we heard about. And that due date is a new one. It's going to be Sunday, October 27th. So we've got a little bit of time to work on that critical reflection. And I think that's all I have for this video, and I hope this was informative and helpful. And if you have any questions, just shoot them my way.